Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode on the Little Fella Sports Podcast. So, today we are here to preview the 12th game week in the ongoing Premier League season. And for the show, I have Narayanan and Aswin, who are both representing Chelsea. Unfortunately, we could not get any United fanboys to the show because they're all suffering a big mental setback thanks to the knockout that they faced in the Champions League at the hands of Leipzig. So, we have some very interesting games coming up in the game week. None more important than the Manchester derby. United and City are at the two ends of the spectrum in this Premier League, which are very contrasting. And this is another derby that promises to be a high intense, high octane game. Apart from the Manchester derby, we do have some really important fixtures which are relevant to the table, which will decide how the teams will finish up leading up to Christmas. So, without much ado, let's get started with the show. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us at The Little Fellas handle on Twitter and Instagram for content updates. So let's start off with the recap of Game Week 11. Narayanan, you had previewed Game Week 11. I hope it's been another hit and miss week for you with respect to the predictions. So what do you make of Game Week 11?
Yeah, it's been a hit and miss, like you said, Krishna. So I got the Leeds Chelsea game right. It was a very interesting game. So it was. I got it 3-1. Yeah. So the other prediction which I got correct was the Spurs Arsenal one, which was it was pretty easy actually, that one. But one prediction which I didn't get correct was West Ham United. I think I predicted the West Ham win. So Liverpool and City got their results against Wolves and Fulham respectively, and the most surprising result was the Crystal Palace 5-1 win against West Brom. So that's how far that the last week went for me.
Ashwin, what did you make of the previous game week? Did you see any surprising results or surprising performances?
One surprise for me was the Liverpool Wolves game. After that Brighton draw, I expected another close game, but Liverpool proved too good for Wolves. And also, I was hoping Arsenal could do something for the sake of our position in the table, but that's just too much hope on Arsenal right now. I guess that was a very easy win to Spurs. We heard a lot of Arsenal fans saying that form goes out of the window in North London derby, but apparently it was Arsenal who went out of the window. So
yeah, as you said, it was definitely not good from a Chelsea point of view because Spurs kept winning and they're actually winning the big games, which of course due credit to Mourinho. He's tactically outclassing each manager he's facing at the moment, but that is definitely not good for other title contenders like Chelsea and Liverpool. So coming over to this game week, and as I said before, no bigger game in the Premier League than the Manchester derby, and that is the big game we'll be following up in this preview. So Narayanan, starting off with you. As I said before, two Manchester sides which are at the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of form and in terms of their mental state. So how do you think this game is going to go?
So, like you said in the start of the preview, it is actually surprising that we don't have any United fans in the house today. It is understandable after what happened yesterday. So, going straight into this matchup, when you look at United from the 2000s decade and the 100-point City, when you match them up against each other, it would have been a more interesting game. Actually, I wanted to make that point. So, like City is now finding the form. In the last two games, they had pretty easy wins against Fulham and Burnley. They've been doing very well in the CL qualifications also. They finished top of the table in CL. I know a lot of people are confident about a United win as always when Ole is under pressure, he performs. And you can expect a 10 on 10 from AWB against Raheem Sterling, etc. But I think this time it's a bit different due to two factors, which I'm going to say now. One, I think, will be the most easy one to guess. Like it's basically against Bruno versus KDB actually. So before, like I said in the start, in the 2000s United and the 100-point City, they were all team based. They had a lot of players. They didn't depend on individual players. So basically, when last 3 years, if you take out Company, Silva, and Sane and Aguero now is not playing that much. Now City also look like a one-man team with KDB. So I think this match is going to be decided based on who turns up on that day. It's going to be either KDB or Bruno, whoever carries that team. I think they'll win the game. The second factor which I'm going to say is the second factor should be Ole's big game bounce. This year it's not happening. So last year they won a lot of big games. So this season in the Premier League, they got thrashed by Spurs and they lost to Arsenal and they drew against us. And in CL also, they were saying that they won PSG and Leipzig in the start. So in the return fixtures, I don't think they did well, and it was a very disappointing result for them in their point of view, and questionable decisions from Ole during the PSG halftime, like keeping Fred in the game, and questionable lineup also against Leipzig. He played 7 defenders or defensive-minded players. He lost it big time against these teams. I think that was the most crucial part of the season. So coming down to the prediction, I think it's going to be KDB versus Bruno. I go KDB 2 and Bruno 1. That's going to be my prediction for this week.
So yeah, as you pointed out, Nars, both teams look like one-man shows at the moment, but it's going to be a very interesting match because just like the Northern Derby, form and mentality goes out of the window when they play the Manchester Derby. So coming over to Ashwin, what are your thoughts leading up to the Manchester Derby? How do you think both teams are placed before the first kick?
If you see the recent past, I think most of the narrative around this fixture is a high-flying City against a struggling United. But always United has been proved to be the Achilles heel for City. I think the City's play style suits exactly for United. But I agree. I disagree with Narayanan here. He said like one out of KDB or Bruno, whoever turns up will win the game. I think we know what City will do. I think it depends on which United turns up on the day, and it will depend. It will decide the game because United have been so inconsistent that it is very hard to predict like which United will turn up. Uh, but one different thing going into this fixture is both the teams are struggling, and I think after a very long time, Man United is above Man City when this fixture is happening. So that might be a problem for United because they have always gone into this fixture expecting to lose and have always performed. But now they are expected to win, and after that major setback in the midweek, I think United will find it very difficult to beat Man City. Uh, but I expect it to be a very close game. As far as my prediction goes, I think it will be 3-2 Man City.
So okay, so both analysts in the house have gone for Manchester City to win this derby. Of course, but the common factor between both the predictions is we're expecting a close game, and that is something you come to expect when it's a Manchester derby. So coming over to our game, Everton versus Chelsea. Ashwin, I'd like to start off with you. Everton started the league in high-flying fashion. They kept winning games, but Chelsea had a stop-start comments to the season, but slowly we are stringing together some wins and very good wins at that. So how do you see this game going forward?
Uh, Coming to Everton, like they started very brilliantly, but even when they were good, like they were leaking goals defensively. As we know from last season, even though how good you look in the attack, if your defense is leaky, it is very difficult to sustain at the top. I think the last clean sheet that Everton kept goes back to the first game week. So I expect it to be a pretty straightforward game for Chelsea. One interesting thing I would like to see is the how we cope up with the absence of Hakim Ziyech. I think in the Leeds match we didn't face much problem because of the Leeds play style. But going into these games, like I think we will really miss Hakim Ziyech and his the threat we possess in the right flank. So that will be an interesting thing to see. Having said that, I expect a pretty straightforward win for Chelsea in this game. My prediction would be 4-1.
4-1. Okay. So Narayan, coming over to you. Anything to add to that analysis?
So just like Ashwin said, Everton started off pretty well. So they are at the top of the table after 4 or 5 games, I think. So after that, Richarlison got banned in the Liverpool game. So 3 games in a row they missed James Rodriguez and Richarlison, and they found it difficult to break other teams. So they didn't perform very well. So when they were back, they were expected to perform really well in the last 3 games, especially when they played Fulham, Leeds, and Burnley. So I expected them to at least get 7 or 9 points. So they got only 4 points, which is very disappointing from their point of view. So they're also down on form, and we are also in very good form. The one major setback for Chelsea would be, like Ashwin said, Hakim Ziyech is injured for 2 weeks. So it'll be really interesting how we cope without him for the next 2 weeks against Wolves, Everton, and Aston Villa, I think. So taking everything into account, I think it will still be an easy win for Chelsea. I'm going for a 2-0 win for Chelsea.
Yeah, as both of you pointed out, the lack of Hakim Ziyech for the next 2 weeks is going to be a big blow for Chelsea, and now we'll be forced to maybe I think we'll start entertaining the idea of playing Mount in the wings again. So that actually takes us back to the first few game weeks where we struggled. So it's a very crucial period for Chelsea leading up to Christmas. It's really important that we stay afloat in the top four and don't drop points in easy games. So moving on to probably the easiest fixture of this game week, Fulham Liverpool. We have to include this in the first 5 games because Liverpool is a part of this fixture. So Narayanan, starting off with you, I think this is a straightforward prediction. I don't think there's much to analyze here as well.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be a straightforward win for Liverpool. I don't see any other result other than this. So I'm predicting a 3-0 Liverpool win for this.
Ashwin, your call.
Yeah, like it is very obvious that Liverpool are going to have a walk on the park in this game. I actually predict more goals. I'm going for a final win for Liverpool.
Yeah, so Klopp's rotation is going to be the key factor to look at here. How well the workload of Salah and Mane are going to be managed. And Jota was benched for the previous game against Wolves, which was relatively a tougher game compared to their CL fixture and their upcoming PL fixture, which is Fulham. So it'll be interesting to see the front three that Liverpool roll out in the Fulham game. So coming over to another interesting game this game week, we've got another London battle. We've got Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur. Uh, Ashwin, the way Tottenham Hotspur under Jose Mourinho have played this particular season, I think great things are about to happen at Tottenham. Your call?
Yes, like the typical Mourinho team is what Spurs is shaping up to be. So we know how it is. We know how it feels like. So that's why we are scared the most, I think. Uh, so yeah, like this is another hope for us as Chelsea fans to see whether Spurs can lose points. It's going to be very difficult though. But I predict the game to be close because of the play style that Palace possess, which is very similar to Spurs. So it will be a bit difficult for Spurs to counter them. Uh, but having said that, they have also managed to play very well against teams that have had some deep blocks. So I expect a close game. I hope for a Palace win or draw, but my brain says it's going to be a 2-1 Spurs win.
Fair enough. Narayan, coming over to you, what do you make of this battle? How important do you think the Palace challenge is going to be for Spurs?
I think the more important challenges were the one before and after Palace game. So Mourinho saw off all the games before he won against Manchester City, part against Chelsea, and drew the game, and he easily beat Arsenal without even batting an eye. It was just gear one for Mourinho. It was a typical performance. So Palace game, I thought it would be a cakewalk for Mourinho, but surprisingly, Palace won 5-1 after Zaha returned in the last game week. So might be there is a chance, like 20-30% chance that Palace turn up and give a good game for Mourinho. But I still think Mourinho has enough firepower in his team. He has Kane and Son, who has been doing very well this season. Kane having 10 assists and Son having 10 goals. So I don't think the Palace defense can cope up with this attack. So I think it'll be a 2-1 win, like Ashwin said.
Yeah, so both the analysts going for an easy win for Mourinho. Just as Narayan pointed out, games preceding the Palace game were actually predicted to be tough for Mourinho. He's aced all three and he's got 7 from a possible 9 points. So that is a really good return considering he played top 6 teams in all those 3 games. Coming over to the next match that we have in this game week, it's Arsenal versus Burnley. Another sorry story for this top 16. Uh, if United hit a low, then Arsenal have actually hit. They're actually finding deeper dips, to be honest. So Narayan, Burnley, we've been saying, have not got as many points as they deserve to have gotten. So what do you make of this particular game? Do you think Arsenal can finally step up and get a win?
So I think we all thought that Arsenal will be in the top four race after the FA Cup win and the Community Shield win against the Chelsea and Liverpool. But unfortunately, they are 15th and they are playing 18th place Burnley now, and it's December actually, not even August. So it's surprising that Arsenal are in this state, but I expected this like 2-3 weeks back itself. So Burnley also they usually start the season very slowly, and in the middle of the season, like in the December, January, and February, they keep a lot of clean sheets and stabilize themselves and head towards the top 10 or 10, top 12, 13 finish. So this will be a right time for them to pick up form because they are in the relegation zone, and this will be a good time for them to put Arsenal in the relegation zone maybe. So even though both are in very bad run of form, I think this game will be a draw, even though it's happening in the Emirates. I'm going for 1-1.
Okay, fair enough. Ashwin, coming over to you. You are one of the guys who actually supported Arteta after he won the Community Shield and FA Cup. You thought Arsenal had actually nailed down on a manager who had a good tactical brain. So, what is your assessment of Arteta now? Because Arsenal are currently 15th.
Actually, like it was like after the FA Cup and the Community Shield win, I saw like how tactically we were outclassed in that game, and I was pretty impressed by Arteta. Arsenal were shambles before he came, and they weren't able to defend. He sorted that out, but apparently no, they can't attack. It seems like they can't score a goal at all. So one thing that we cannot expect in this game are goals because Burnley has only 5 goals and Arsenal have meager 10. So like, and if you see the last game also, like the only mode of attack that Arsenal were trying to do were cross with, for some reason, Willian and get a header. But I don't think the way Burnley defend, they are going to win aerial duels and get goals through crosses. So I don't expect any goals in this game. So I predict a 0-0 draw.
So yeah, fairly muted opinions from both analysts. But yeah, it's actually very sorry for the Arsenal fans because they actually had a lot of hope the moment Arteta came over and the kind of summer window that they had. We all thought Arsenal was going back to their glory days, but seems like it's a bus that has lost all its tires. So coming over to Leeds versus West Ham. So this is another high-flying game. West Ham have also looked good under David Moyes at the start of the season. Leeds have definitely lived up to their hype. They're playing some really quality football, which is PL grade, to be honest. Coming over to Ashwin first. Leeds versus West Ham. What do you think? Do you think Bielsa can outclass Moyes?
Actually, like I haven't followed West Ham much, but the last game that I watched was West Ham vs United. I watched that closely. West Ham looked pretty good, but they were very slow, and we know how Leeds play. Leeds are very fast-paced and high-pressing team, so I don't think West Ham will have enough to contain Leeds. It's going to be very difficult game, and uh, considering the fact that it is happening at the Ellen Road, I predict Leeds to get a victory here. My score prediction would be a 3-1 Leeds win.
Fair enough. Nars, coming over to you.
So, like predicting the Leeds fixture every game week is very tough. It's always 50-50, but I think just like Ashwin said, this should be a fairly easy prediction. And owing to the style West Ham play and how Leeds played against us in the Stamford Bridge, I think it's going to be an easy win for Leeds this time around. Even though West Ham will look to bounce back after a loss against Manchester United, they were actually in good form before that. They won 3 games. But still, I think Leeds will outlast them in this game. I think it's going to be same 3-1.
Okay, so we're expecting another Bielsa masterclass this weekend. Coming over to another interesting game, Leicester versus Brighton. Leicester again are in the top four race. They've had a good start to the league. Brighton, as many would say, should have had more points under their belt for the quality of football that they've played. Just unlucky that they find themselves in the bottom half. So coming over to Nas first, what do you think of this game, Narayan?
Just like you said, Brighton should have had more points. They are now closer to a relegation zone, I think, but they deserved at least 18 points or something against the oppositions they played. This should be a very equal game, to be honest. Both are very similar type of teams. They play attacking football. Leicester actually have not been in great form recently. They have lost to Liverpool and they narrowly won against Sheffield and lost to Fulham also. So I think Brighton have to turn their season around. And this will be a very close game, but I'm expecting a draw in this game. 2-2 is my prediction.
Fair enough. So Ashwin, with some of the key Leicester players slowly returning back to the pitch, how do you think Leicester are going to shape up in this game and in the coming game weeks?
Leicester are they had a very good start, but they are struggling at the moment. They had a very narrow escape against Sheffield. On the other hand, Brighton also have been like they are playing very good football, but not able to get the results. I expect a pretty even game, but I'm inclining a little towards Brighton in this game. I expect a 2-1 Brighton win. Uh, yeah.
So coming over to the next game, it's Wolverhampton versus Aston Villa. It's another interesting game because Aston Villa have had a good start to the league. They unfortunately could not play last week owing to the COVID outbreak at Newcastle. Wolves, on the other hand, are coming off a big thrashing against Liverpool. They've lost their premier striker Raul Jimenez due to a very tragic injury. So, Narayan, starting off with you, how do you see this game shaping?
So I think both of them are in very bad form. I think Aston Villa before their COVID incident also were in bad form after their flying start to the season, and Wolves also they were also in good form in the start of the season, but they dropped off after Jimenez got injured. Before also they didn't play well for the two games that they had him. So but this game, if Wolves go for a three-man defense that they always did, I think they should be able to see off Aston Villa's attack, and I think they'll be able to win this game 2-1.
Ashwin, coming over to you, it's another interesting game. The interesting game this particular game week. How do you see this game panning out?
Yes, the main reason why Wolves capitulated last week, I think, was that they were getting used to the fact that Raul Jimenez is not there at the front. He is very integral part of how Wolves play, so it will take some time getting used to it. Having said that, they have had a week and they are playing at home. I expect them to sort out their problems and play as we all know how Wolves play. So I'm also predicting a 2-1 win for Wolves.
Yeah, so fair enough. So both analysts looking at Wolves, and yeah, it's going to be a tight game. I think with Aston Villa getting that week off, might just come back with a replenished energy. Coming over to the penultimate game of this particular game week, Southampton versus Sheffield. Southampton, they've had a stop start kind of beginning to this league as well. They have actually won or drawn some games that they should have lost, and have actually lost some games that they should have won. So, Ashwin, starting off with you, how do you see this game panning out?
Southampton have really impressed everyone. They are playing some really good football, and the one thing that we see in Premier League is when like mid-table teams play good football, they hardly get points. But Southampton are playing good football and also are raking up the points. So kudos to Hassan Huttle; he has done a fantastic job. Uh, Sheffield currently they are struggling very much. Uh, they had a heartbreaking defeat against Leicester. Uh, so I think Southampton should have enough in their lineup to beat Sheffield. I'm going for a 3-1 Southampton win.
Fair enough. Narayanan, what do you make of this game?
So I think it's going to be an easy win for Southampton because Dannings was also back last game week, and I think that should be enough for them to beat Sheffield. I think Sheffield are a few game weeks away from finding their form. Like they should have found their form by now if they want to avoid relegation. But they've been losing every game week against Westbrom, against Leicester last week, also heartbreaking. So I think it's going to be an easy win for Southampton. The way they play, they'll score 2 goals. 2-0 is my prediction.
Okay, fair enough. So coming over to the last game of this game week, we still don't have any confirmation on whether this game is going forward as planned, but we'll anyway preview it. Newcastle versus West Brom. So Narayan, starting off with you, Newcastle could not get their game last week because of the COVID outbreak. We are still not sure of what the situation is at Newcastle. What do you make of this fixture?
Actually, my prediction for this game would be COVID. Um, I don't think this game will happen, but if at all it goes through, I hope that Newcastle wins with 2 goals from Callum Wilson because I have him in my FPL team. So that would be my prediction: 2-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely FPL does influence certain inclinations. So Ashwin, coming over to you, if this game goes through, how do you see this game panning out?
I think if it goes through, it will be a very close game because, like, if at all it goes through, I think some at least 7 or 8 players from Newcastle would be missing. I don't think they have enough squad depth to field a new 11 and win the PL game. So I think if at all this game goes through, I think West Brom have a really good chance to pick up some points as it will be crucial for them as they're fighting the relegation battle. So I predict a draw if this game happens, 1-1 draw maybe.
Sure. So that is about the games and the previews. Then coming over to the player of the week, we have some really interesting games. So I guess choosing player of the week would be a little tricky. Maybe my guess is which probably a Liverpool midfielder or one from the front three. Narayanan, who do you pick as the player of the week?
I think it's very pretty straightforward. I don't think there is any other option other than Salah for this week. I don't think that it is tricky because no other team has easier fixtures. Even City has tough fixtures, and I don't think Chelsea midfielders or attackers have enough points in them to win Player of the Week. So it has to be Mo Salah this week.
Ashwin, who would you pick as your player of the week candidate?
I agree with Narayanan there, but I'm afraid I'm not sure if Salah will start. That is something that is a bit of a question, given that Liverpool have 4 quality attackers now, and they have a tough run of fixtures coming up, and given that they have a long injury list, Klopp might be inclined to protect his star attacker. So I'm sure if at all Salah plays, I would go with Salah, or else I would go with Jota.
You can go with Kane.
I'm not going with Kane.
So yeah, so thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot, Narayan and Ashwin, for taking a time out and being a part of the podcast. So stay tuned. Do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a ton of content lined up. Until then, thank you.